My name is Shivesh Gaur, and I'm the founder and CEO of Empyrean Robotic Technologies, which is a 4-year-old startup recognized under Startup India. And we are basically dealing in the development of drones, UAVs, robotics, and automation. Now, before moving ahead on what we are doing and what are the products, let me give you a brief intro about how it all started. Like, what was the concept and from where we started working on it. Basically, I belong to Prayagraj in Uttar Pradesh, a kind of tier 2 city, and I'm an engineer plus MBA. So I started working on robotics from my third semester. I was also not aware of robotics, what it is and how it goes. So for the first time, I came across there are certain competitions organized in IIT Kharagpur and various other IIT colleges. So for the first time, I participated along with my team in the competition of IIT Kharagpur, which was an international level competition. And by working on to the projects, I came a very clicking point. Like in those competitions, they provide a kind of problem statement, and for that we need to develop something by our own. So this point clicked a lot into my mind because I really love to work in the real-time situations and working out for the solutions of the real-time problems. So for that, it clicked a lot, and we gone for the first time into the competition, and we secured the finalist rank. And this recognition gave me a boost up. And so returning from there, we continued our journey to the other IITs also, like IIT BHU from where we got the Best Design Award at national level in robotics, and IIT Kanpur, IIT Roorkee, IIT Mumbai. So in almost all the major IITs, we secured the top ranks in the robotics. So this gave me an idea, like we are getting such kind of recognition, then why can't we go for the commercialization of our projects? Like if it is such a good kind of thing, then maybe it can be good for the society as well as for the development of the technology in our region. My prime focus was to work something for our native area, which was not as good in technology as the other metro cities like Delhi, Mumbai, and all. So for that, I started going on with my to be potential customers at that time, like the local area police authorities and like SSPs and DMs. So I showed my product. I have developed one drone, which it took me for around 8 to 9 months to develop it when I was in college. So I presented to them, and we got a really good recognition that my team was doing a very good job, and it can be good for the police authorities in the surveillance and all. So from there onwards, we finalized that yes, our concept is good and we are on the right track. So we should go for the company registration part, because being a student, we cannot sell directly to the government. So from when I was in 7th semester, I started working on my company registrations, and before ending up with my BTech, like the final examinations of my 8th semester, I was ready with my company registered. And luckily at the same time, in the same year, the Startup India concept was launched in India. So I approached to that also, applied into it, and we got the recommendation from IIT BHU. This was the recommendation letter that we received, that yes, our concept was really innovative and we can go for the Startup India application. So luckily, we was certified as the first startup that got the Startup India registration from our city. And the objective of our company was quite new as compared to the nearby areas. Like we were dealing in the manufacturing of drones, so it was sounding a bit cool to the local market. So this was all from where we started and how it goes. Now, moving on to the product part, like what all the products we are dealing into. So before going on to the product part, let me tell you, like a good recognition that we received. What we can say, it was a good recognition, like being into the student journey when we were going to the IITs as a participant. after converting my team into a company, and when my product got commercialized for the first time, and we started getting the recognition in the market, we got listed into the Indian Aerospace Industries Directory. All those things started coming back to us into a different way. Like during the student journey, we were as a participant going to the IITs, and after getting my company registered, we started getting the invitations from those IITs to exhibit our product into their innovative exhibitions. Like they organize different national and international level exhibitions, expos into their fest. So we started getting invitations from there. And recently we got a very big recognition that was from the Defense Expo that was organized a few months back into the Lucknow. So we were the only company from our region to represent the UP in the UP Startup Pavilion at Defense Expo, which were into the drones manufacturing. It was a quite cool exposure that we can ever think of. And one more thing, like moving into the startup part, the Startup India helped us a lot. Like since our prime customers were into the government sectors only, like agriculture department, police department, defense and all. So in the government sector, when we go for their procurements, there were a lot of eligibility criteria that was almost impossible for a startup to comply with, because they were asking for a huge amount of turnovers in prior years, a lot of experience was required, and a hell lot of amount was just blocked into the EMDs. Like for every tender there is a certain money that we need to deposit as a kind of earnest money deposit to just participate in that tender, and the money gets blocked for a long period of time till the tender is completely either it is cancelled or it is given to some company. So from all these kind of eligibility criteria, the Startup India certificate just I can say helped us to get eliminated all these eligibility criteria, and we were exempted from going for all these kind of things. And we just need to comply with the technical parameters. Like if our product is ready to be to compete with the other companies in the technical parameters, then we are all set to participate in the tender without submitting all these kind of eligibility criteria. So this was very helpful for us in cracking our initial orders, because my first order was from Indian Council of Agricultural Research, and our drone was selected there for using into their Indo-UK project of aerial crop monitoring. And soon after then we got a local contract with the Prayagraj police to provide full aerial security into elections. And after that, recently we have got one contract from the Allahabad University to supply one drone for the Planetary and Earth Science Department for the aerial survey and all. There are a lot of examples like in which the drones are nowadays used. So these were all the good recognitions that we have received. Now, before moving on to the product that we are making, I would like to show you a quick video of my product, which can help you to give a better picture in your mind as compared with, like, if I tell you on. Okay. Hello. Am I audible?
Yes, you are audible.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so this was the video. Basically, this drone we have especially developed for the survey part, like for aerial mapping and aerial surveys, which are very helpful in the mapping of smart cities. And recently, there are requirements for the mapping of Indian villages and all. So in these kind of drones can be very much helpful, as they can cover a lot amount of area in a very quick time, and you can use the images and you can use the data received from this flight for the post processing for the development of local area maps, and you can generate the orthophoto mosaics also. So this was one of our product. Now moving on to the product, moving on to the association part, we are having few of associations. One of the association is with Indian Institute of Advanced Robotics, Stark Industries. We are having an R&D. We are the R&D partner with IAR for the robotics development, and a couple of years back we signed one agreement with the Indian Telephone Industry, which is a PSU, for being the technology partner of ITI Limited for the commercial drones development. Apart from it, we are the distributor partner of Early Robotics, which is a Spain-based company, and for the TechFest 2020, we were the authorized workshop partner, which is the annual TechFest of IIT Bombay. So we were the workshop partner for IIT Bombay and to organize the regional workshops in the UP area. So one more thing, while going through all of these things, people generally ask me you are dealing into drones and robotics both, since both are different verticals. So for that, basically, they are not as different as they look like, because robotics, when we talk about robotics, it is a vast field which comprises of almost all the major departments of engineering, like mechanical, electrical, electronics, information technology, as well as computer science. And further, when we categorize the robotics into three major areas, one is, you can say, aerial-based robotics, second is ground-based robotics, and the third one is aqua-based robotics. So the field which deals with the aerial-based robotics is something which is known as aeromodeling, and drones are a part of aeromodeling. So on a general note, robotics is a kind of vast field, whereas drones, you can say, is a kind of a specialization of robotics, one of its specialization. So now moving on to the next part, these are some of our drones, hexacopter models and quadcopters model. Basically, while going in the development of drones, we have faced certain challenges, since the drones were very costly in the earlier days, and a common student or engineering pass out is really fearing to go for the development of drones and all, just because of its because it is a lot of costly. So for that, we have started making things simplify in a simple form, so that it can be easily accessible to the engineering students as well. So apart from focusing on the industrial grade drones, we are also focusing on the educational sector in order to come up with some educational kind of kits and to have a hobby grade drone system, which can be quite cheaper as compared to the industrial grade models. Like when we talk about the industrial grade models, it starts from the costing of 1 lakh and can extend up to you can say 20 to 30 lakhs as well. So it can be almost next to impossible to afford for an engineering student. So for them, we have come up with some solutions, like we are developing some hobby grade drones which can be used for the early flyers to just take a hands-on these kind of systems and to know the early stage ups and downs of what it all takes in the development of drones. So this was the thing that was really appraised by the nearby colleges and their students, and people started appraising us for this kind of things because we started providing the local area support in this upcoming technology of drones and robotics for the nearby students. Now, this was the whole part of what we are developing. Now, when we talk about what new we did and the innovation part, how we managed to come up with these kind of technologies in the Indian market. So when we talk about the innovation, when we think about from 4 to 5 years back when we started, drone itself was a kind of innovation. for the tier 2 and tier 3 kind of cities. So when we started working on it, then also we decided not to come up with the traditional part, but apart from it, we have decided to put some add-ons into it, like which can differentiate our product from the existing traditional model of just flying the drone by a remote controller. So we worked on making a drone completely autonomous, and we succeeded in that, and we made a drone which was capable of performing autonomous missions and without giving any command from the remote controller. You can just pre-plan a mission on the ground control station, which was supported by almost all kind of maps like Google Maps, hybrid maps, and satellite maps. You just need to draw a trajectory path on the map, load the file onto the board, and take it off in the air, switch it to the auto mode. And after that, the drone will start following the whole mission as you have planned in the ground, and it will do the specific task that you have decided in the mission. And after completing the whole mission, it will return back to its home location automatically and land there safely without any command given from the landed pilot. So this was a very cool feature. And one as time passed, we faced some challenges, like during the mission something goes wrong, like when battery goes off or when the radio signals get disconnected. Then what should happen? In that case, should our drone just drop down from the air, or we need to come up with some more advanced features? So for that, we come up with one fail-safe option. In that, we made that while going through the mission, if something goes wrong, like battery goes off or radio connects off, so in that, the drone will automatically start following the shortest way possible from its actual position to the home location from the very short path, and it will come back to its home location and it will land there safely. Same goes when the battery cuts, and same goes when the radio disconnects. So this was this proved to be our first USP. And the second was, like, we started providing customization. Like earlier, the drone concept was started for just the aerial videography, but as the time passed, the drone started expanding its application sectors into various departments. Like in agriculture, they use it for aerial pesticide spraying and for precise agriculture monitoring. And in defense segment, they use it for border security and surveillance. In you can say crowd controlling, and cinematography. Bollywood are using drones for taking aerial shots, which were earlier taken by the helicopters. And forest departments are using drones to monitor the wildlife, and there are n number of applications of drones in these days. So to come up with these solutions, we have finalized to develop some drones for every different applications. So this was all from the drone part. Now we come up with the robotics. Like what we have developed in robotics, we have made one marketing robot, which was voice command enabled with the collaboration of IAR, Institute of Advanced Robotics. It was a very cool robot which can be replaced for the local human, which are generally used for showcasing the products in the shopping malls and all. So this also got a very good appraisal from the potential clients. After that came the lockdown. These are certain automation-based projects that we do. Similarly, workshops also we organize into different colleges to just impart the knowledge with the upcoming engineers on drone technology and robotics. Apart from it, as time passed, then comes the lockdown period, like the 2-3 months back when the COVID came into existence and the whole country was facing the lockdown. So at that time, again, that point clicked into my mind, like how we can come up with something for COVID time and which can be beneficial for coming up in lockdown period. So for that, we found that we need to develop something new, and we have come up with a solution which is a supporting software for the drones. Earlier, what we were doing, like whenever we fly a drone, the live feed were on the pilot's mobile or on the screen at the point where the pilot is controlling the drone. But now what we have planned, that we have designed one software which is known as CAMS, Centralized Aerial Monitoring System, for a specific project which is known as CAS, Centralized Aerial Surveillance. Now in this, what we have planned was, suppose drones can be used for maintaining the law and order and to maintain the social distancing monitoring by the local police personnel during and post-pandemic time in order to maintain the lockdown. So what we have planned, like suppose 10 to 50 drones or even more drones are deployed into some different locations. So every live feed can be received on a single platform without having any different platform to receive it. So suppose one drone is flying into Allahabad, one drone is flying in Lucknow, another is flying in Gorakhpur, another is flying in Delhi. So every footage is received on a single platform from where you can monitor every location of the drones, along with the live flight location in terms of latitude and longitude, which is received on the local on that portal from the actual flying location of the drones. This was the main problem statement. And another USP that we have added was, like suppose in the central monitoring room, some command need to be given to a particular pilot who is flying a drone in Delhi area. So we can just turn on the mic section on that live feed, and we can just tell the pilot to execute a certain task, and the pilot will get a notification on its controller that these commands have to be followed from the control room. So the pilot can proceed as decided. So this project was appealing to me, like we can go for it. And finally we have almost completed this project, and soon it will be commercialized into the market, and it will be deployed with the local area authorities also. And meanwhile, when during the first phase of the lockdown, when everything occurred suddenly, we were just sitting in our rooms, and one of my friends came and he told me like what we can do with our raw materials that we are having right now. So
Shivesh, so I have a question. So while we are talking about drones as a technology, we are also witnessing cases where it is being used for the wrong causes.
Yeah, obviously, actually, India was a bit coming up with was a bit late in coming up with all these formulations of the laws and rules kind of thing. So while we were not ready with the rules and regulation part of the drone used by the civil applications, people started using it for ill causes also, as well as for some kind of applications which was not at all acceptable from the legal point of view. So for that, the lack in the rules and regulation was the main cause of just providing that thrust to the ill users of the drones in the civil applications.
So, how do you think what is needed to ensure that there is no ill causes, ill uses of these products? What can be done?
Basically,
Sorry.
the monitoring and the track record of the drones, as well as the track record of the drone pilots, is mandatory. Until and unless we are not having the database of who all are having drones and who all are the potential drone pilots in the country, we cannot point out that from where a drone can fly and from what it can do, and at what extent it can harm to the society if we talk about the ill users.
Since we understand there needs to be effective monitoring, so can we say that drones should be given only to businesses, not to day-to-day consumers?
No, not like that, because until and unless you will not allow the end users to consume the drones for their personal uses, the demand will not at all increase in the market. Because if you before when India was not having the proper rules and regulation, it was only the drones were only allowed for the government segments to use it for their applications. So if we compare the present condition to that condition, again it will going to affect the demand, because at that time only the government organizations were issuing the demands of the drones, as the normal people were not allowed to use the drones. So we need to focus on giving the allowance to use the drone by the normal people also. But the thing that should be kept into consideration is we need to have some easy norms which can be monitored, as well as which should be a bit friendly to the normal people also. Because if we talk about the present conditions, like what the government rules and regulations are, it is a bit you can say a bit tough to comply with for the normal consumers.